Sunday before Thanksgiving is the easiest time to speak. There's just so much to say, so many things to be grateful for that we take for granted. So this morning, I guess I'll talk to you about 2 or 3 things, and one is to start focusing or to notice. I know we do notice when we will see a posting on Facebook, and it'll be of a child in some other country, and they're wearing flattened out plastic bottles for shoes, and that'll get your attention. And we think of that for a while, and then it leaves our minds, and then we're on to other things. Then another thing I'd like to speak to you about is I think it was Maya Angelou who said to be a rainbow in someone else's cloud. And the best thing you could do every day of your life is to make at least one act, more if you can, of being a blessing to another. And it doesn't matter what's gone on in the world. It doesn't matter if they've hurt your feelings. It doesn't matter. They may have even said something that hurt you. And the best thing you can do is bless them and mean it. Come from your heart. Truly send love and light. But do more acts of conscious blessing of another. And then to hold always an attitude of gratitude in everything you do. One of the things that I think I have recognized over the years, that when it comes to business, people sometimes forget their personal ethics. And they'll think that there are rules for business that are different than the rules you hold in your personal life. They'll try to sell you a lemon because it's going to put some dollars in their pocket. Now, why? Because they were taught that was okay when they were growing up. Right? So I guess that's what I want to, I'm going to talk about those 3 things today, is how to hold everything in your life, whatever it is, in gratitude. Be grateful in all things and walk this earth with those principles at all times, whether you're at work, whether you're trying to make a profit. Make sure that you're not trying to make a profit at the expense of others, because it won't work well the other way around. And that's when we get into something called the law of attraction. We don't talk about that a whole lot here. We have different words for it. What you send love out to will come back multiplied tenfold. Loving thoughts, it's the same thing as the law of attraction. You attract what you are, what you are being. That's what you will attract, what you are. But let's talk a little bit about being a blessing. The District of Columbia police auctioned off about 100 unclaimed bicycles. $1, said an 11-year-old, as the bidding opened on the first bike. The bidding, however, went much higher. $1, the boy repeated, hopefully each time another bike came up. The auctioneer, who'd been auctioning stolen or lost bikes for 43 years, of course, he noticed the little boy. He noticed his enthusiasm, and he noticed that he had $1. And he noticed that the boy's hopes seemed to soar higher whenever a racer-type bicycle was up for auction. There was just one racer left. The bidding went to $8. So the auctioneer said, "Sold to that boy over there for $9. He took $8 from his own pocket and he asked the boy for his dollar. The youngster turned it over and pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters, took his bike and started to leave. But he went only a few feet. Carefully, parking his new possession, he went back, gratefully threw his arms around the auctioneer's neck, and he cried. That's gratitude, isn't it? When's the last time you felt that grateful for something in your life? Has there been a time? I borrowed this post from a friend of ours. He's not here this morning. The family that comes from Slidell, Robbie Lawless. He has a shop, Lawless Custom something. He customizes classic cars. And they are gorgeous. Does a beautiful job. His son, young Jesse Lawless, works with him there. He posted this a couple of weeks ago. And he said, when you think your life is lacking or you forget how blessed you really are, remember the ones who desperately make something out of nothing. This boy took whatever he could find. Wood. He made this bike of his own. And he's proud. And he's grateful. And here I am, disgruntled a time or two that I have to wash my dishes in the bathroom. When I'm blessed enough that I have hot running water every day, don't have to worry about what I'm going to eat, don't have to worry about anything, clothing for myself. I've never had to worry about that. For my family. I'm grateful. Grateful. On the cold days, you have heat. And on those really warm, humid days here on the coast of Mississippi, we have air conditioning. And we're grateful for that too. And I have another sweet story. This came from Katharine Hepburn, her childhood in her own words. And many of you may not remember who she was. Very beautiful woman. I believe she's passed on now to the other side, to spirit. She said, once when I was a teenager, my father and I were standing in line to buy tickets for the circus. Finally, there was only one family between us and the ticket counter. She said, this family made a big impression upon me. There were 8 children, all probably under the age of 12. The way they were dressed, you could tell they didn't have a lot of money, but their clothes were neat and clean. The children were well behaved, all of them standing in line, 2 by 2, behind their parents, holding hands, as they'd been taught. They were excited. They were going to the circus for the first time. And they were talking about the clowns, the animals, and all the acts they would be seeing that day. And by their excitement, of course, you could tell that this was a first of this type of situation ever in their lives. They were most grateful. The father and mother were at the head of the pack, standing proud as could be. The mother holding the father's hand, as if to say, "You're my knight in shining armor." That's the way I look at Dan all the time too, don't I, Dan? My knight in shining armor. He was smiling and enjoying seeing his family together. That's sweet. I just think of that family and it brings a smile to my face. The ticket lady asked the man how many tickets he wanted. He said, "I'd like to have 8 children's tickets and 2 adult tickets, please, so I can take my family to the circus." The ticket lady stated the price. The man's wife let go of his hand. Her head dropped. The man's lip began to quiver. Then he leaned a little bit closer and asked, "How much did she say?" The ticket lady again stated the price. He didn't have enough money. It was obvious. His demeanor changed immediately. How was he supposed to turn and tell his 8 children that he didn't have enough money to take them to the circus after they were so excited? Seeing what was going on, Katharine Hepburn said that her dad reached to his pocket, pulled out a $20 bill, and dropped it beside the man. He then tugged on the man's jacket and he said, "I think you dropped something." The man, of course, knew what was going on. He looked gratefully at the $20 bill, picked it up, turned around and said, "Thank you, sir." Proudly bought the tickets to take his children to the circus. Katharine Hepburn's father took her hand and they slowly went back to the car because it was the only $20 he had in his pocket that day. Now that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying be a blessing to others. Her father knew that they could go to a circus anytime. They'd probably been before. And if we'd believe, we don't even have to believe that there's a higher power. We don't have to believe anything that we teach here or at any other church. But if we have kindness and compassion in our hearts, and we do good deeds, then we've become the best person that we could ever be. Just by doing those things, making another's life better. I read of a man that was going to do a workshop for a big company, and he was surprised when he got the call and a little intimidated. It was a huge company, and he was supposed to go teach the leaders how to be better mentors to their employees. So he called his friend, and his friend said, "Just do what you always do. Teach people how to be better people and to live their ethics every single day." Well, the next thing he did what we all do. He got into his business mode and his ego mode, and he gets the PowerPoints out, and all of a sudden he's writing in the driest script you've ever seen in your life that would bore anybody to death. So he said he took this and he started going through what he had written in a scientific point of view from his head instead of his heart. Went through every slide, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to put everybody to sleep with this. As I'm trying to inflate my own ego and make everybody in attendance think I'm the smartest person that ever lived. Is that my purpose in doing this, or is my purpose to truly help? If my purpose is to truly help, I'll be prepared. I may have a few slides, they'll be helpful, just so that they'll know the points that I'm making. But I'm not going to come from my head. I'm going to come from my heart. Because you see, I care. And I care about the outcome. And although this company he was going to speak to, they made a product that he would normally not have purchased, and he didn't even advocate that product. But he didn't have to. He'd been hired to teach these managers how to be better managers. And he said it was one of the most successful workshops he's ever done. And the executive who hired him told him it was the best workshop he had ever seen because he taught them how to be better people. And if you don't know how to relate to people, you're not going to do a good job as a manager, are you? You won't do a good job at all. But all of that comes back to gratitude. I'm coming full circle now from that little illustration to tell you that instead of coming from ego to do that presentation, he decided to meditate and think on the gifts that God had given him, and to know that that's what he was called to present. He wasn't called to go there and have everybody think he was the smartest person that ever lived. He had gratitude for the gifts he was given. He humbly used them. And he was appreciated. So I think gratitude, humility go hand in hand. We bless others as they come into our lives. And we do know that there are some times that someone will try to come into our lives or stay in our lives, and we've blessed them enough. We're going to bless ourselves and them by moving on, because we finally know that maybe we're not helping them by staying and enabling them. Blessing comes in different forms, okay? But if we wake up with an attitude of gratitude every day, you stand up and say, first thing, thank you, God. Just like this. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. I've told you that so many times. The children's lesson this morning, they're learning how to say thank you several different ways. And one of them is sign language. So when they do that to you, you'll know what they're saying. But many of the children grow up in families, and many adults may have too, where they were not taught to be grateful. They were not taught to say thank you when given something. And I think that sometimes we forget too soon somebody that's done something wonderful for us. And then the next thing you know, we've forgotten that and a little at odds with them. And the sooner you can bring yourself back to gratitude and love and appreciation, the better your life will be. And I absolutely guarantee it. So this week, whatever you do, start first with getting up, and before you have that cup of coffee, that if you're like me, you're certainly grateful for that. right after I say, thank you, God, and I say, thank you for this cup of coffee. And this coffee maker and the coffee and all the people who grew the coffee beans, processed it, ground it, the barge over here at the harbor that brought it in, and the truckers that are taking it up the road to the wholesale warehouse. Start looking at everything that way. Be grateful for every single thing, and you will find that your life will improve 1,000%. I promise you that. So this morning, I want you to remember to give gratitude in advance for every single thing you want in your life. Give gratitude in advance. Hold it in your heart and feel how you're going to feel when that comes about. Thank you for your time, and happy Thanksgiving.